And thank you for joining us this morning for our Overcoming Crisis Pivot to Virtual webinar. Today we will have a 30 to 40-minute conversation, and then we will open up to Q&A. If you have questions, please submit your question in the Q&A chat box. I would first like to introduce our company, Innovate Marketing Group. At Innovate Marketing Group, we bring the experience of a brand to life. Innovate Marketing Group is a virtual and live experience agency that provides full-service events and activations for top brands. We also work with a wide array of clients, from Honda to TikTok to East West Bank. We have received many awards and recognitions for our work as well. I would now like to introduce our two speakers for this morning, Amanda Ma, CEO and founder of Innovate Marketing Group, and Jacqueline Ho, Senior Corporate Event Manager.
Good morning, everybody. So nice to see you all joining us today. Today, we'll be discussing with you about virtual events and how you can leverage this tool, from benefits to challenges to role of an event agency, as well as the process, what to consider. And then we'll be showing you guys some example and tips, as well as how you can best leverage sponsorship. And last but not least, matrix. So let's dive right in. I want to share with you guys all this Peter Drucker quote. I thought it was really relevant in terms of what we're going through right now. The only skill that will be important in the 21st century is the skill of learning new skills. Everything else will become obsolete over time. So all of you guys have joined today because you want to learn about virtual events. So kudos to you. I think this is going to be something is here to stay because of given the certain current situation with COVID-19. So a lot of people are asking us, why go virtual? Right, so I would say 4 to 6 weeks ago, we're not really even entertaining this because we thought this will all be over within a few weeks. But as we're sitting here today, obviously it's still very, the recovery period is still unknown, and the social distancing is still implemented, so that we have to begin to think about pivoting the strategy in terms of what to do with your current successful live events and how to pivot that to virtual. And we just also want to make sure, to come up, this is also a good opportunity for you guys to think about how to continue to conduct your business, but leveraging the virtual platform as well as your events, how to pivot that to virtual. To us, it's also a new opportunity, right? So normally we're very limited in terms of our location or our time, but now by doing this, is it possibly you could reach even more people. Web-based events, there's so many ways you can leverage these virtual platforms, from conferences to trade shows to expos, as well as social and business gathering, even meetings. A lot of internal meetings still has to be implemented. We're actually currently working on a 3,000 people run and walk that's going to be pivoted to virtual as well. So we're looking forward to that. Thought leadership events, as well as sales marketing, educational, and then fundraising events. These can all be pivoted to virtual, and you just have to pick your platform wisely, and then we'll share a little bit more insights with you right now. Some of the benefits and challenges. So one of the benefits is that we're not really limited by location. We could, in the past, you literally have to travel to a certain place to attend the event, but now everybody could be doing this at home. And as far as the scale of the event, normally with the venue, we have capacity, whether it's 300 people, 1,000 people, 10,000 people. But with this, you have 1 million people tuning in at the same time, looking at the same content. It's very convenient. So just like right now, we could be in, you're probably watching this at home, and super convenient. You just log in and you can see it. It's, overall, in terms of virtual event, we're seeing about 20 to 30% cost savings. As well as, it's a very green, right? Because we don't have to print anything. So for all of you guys, corporations out there that wants to do green events, this is super green for you. Recording, so with these, you could record it and you can really repurpose all the content. So that's very helpful. And then you can also utilize all the matrix and data, depending on the platform that's selected. You can leverage that, study the data and leverage that for further engagements. We can also use these opportunities to capture and engage the audience in different ways. And then taking actions, right? So normally with survey, we have to do it at the end of the event, or we actually have to take physical count of people, like who's in the audience, but now you could do these immediately You could take polls, you could address Q&A, as well as survey, or even a button that encourage everybody to donate. Some of the challenges that we do see with virtual events is, definitely the emotion and energy, right? So right now, I assume you guys all have a big smile on your face and waving at me, excited to hear the rest of the webinar. So that's definitely a little bit hard to come across, in terms like, I can't see you guys, only you guys can see me. In terms of, we pride ourselves on producing live events that touches the 5 senses. With virtual event, you can't really do that. So the touch, the smell, the taste, right? The memory and recall, because there's quite a few virtual events or just webinars, so like people might get confused or like forget, what time is the virtual event, which is something you have to send out constant reminders. Networking, so you can't replace in-person meeting. However, there's way to around this that you can actually still have very engaging networking through virtual events. And then the last one is attention span. People's attention span on the web is just much shorter than in person. So even recently, we just finished a 5-hour event, but we condensed that down to actually only 1 hour now because of, it's a virtual platform. And
I think seeing the need to go virtual and then also seeing all these great benefits, we're seeing that a lot of clients are coming to us now and saying, where do we start? How do we go about starting off this virtual event? And the way we would describe it is using kind of these 4 solutions. And sometimes we see an overlap, but this is our way of kind of differentiating them. Starting with a webinar, this is what we're doing now with some audio and slides. Live streaming, this one is more based on what is happening right now. So we've seen this many times in the past with some of our physical events where we would live stream the feed directly to those who are at home. A webcast is seen more of a video broadcast of an event over the internet. Sometimes can be described as a more advanced webinar. But the last one, virtual event. So this one is all encompassing of all of these different aspects and can be utilized for very extensive events, including gamification and things like that. The build out for this can be as intricate as you need to help house your event. And so where do we come in as an events agency? Since this is going virtual and we see that need, like I mentioned, our clients are reaching out to say, how do we go about this? We're here to help that pivot to this new normal. Even after the quarantine and stay-at-home orders lift, we see that there's going to be a slower return to the hundreds and thousands of attendees we used to get at our events. So we're seeing that virtual and digital is here to stay, at least for a little bit. And some larger corporations have already made that commitment to stay virtual until 2021. So with this, we want everyone to be ready when they have an event, and we're here to help do that. Applying event strategies to meet your goals. With our clients right now, we have created different phases and stepping stones, if you will, to get closer and help them reach their goals. Vendor coordination. Even though we don't have florists, maybe that's not a need anymore, there's still tons of vendors and coordination and negotiation that we'll need to go through to make sure that you have the right partners and the right vendors that are fitting for your event. Program management, whether that's one speaker or you have multiple tracks, an exhibit hall with 400 exhibitors, all of that still takes a lot of intricate planning and timing to make sure that it all flows smoothly and that your event is seamless throughout and that experience is created. Marketing, event, and communication. That is just as important as a live event, if not more, during a virtual component. Making sure that your attendees have a reason to view your program, to attend, to engage. All of that communication that you send out needs to be done strategically and clearly and concisely, I would say. Incorporate sponsors and stakeholders. This is so important. I know a lot of times sponsors think, well, since we're going virtual, there is no opportunity for us anymore, and that is not true. There are so many creative ways that we'll actually go over in a little bit. Amanda will go over some really fun creative ideas. And now more than ever, here's the time that we can go outside of the box and think of new ways to give our sponsor that recognition and the value that they're looking for. Last but not least is the guest experience. Whether you are doing a live event or a fully virtual event or even a hybrid event, that guest experience is very, very important. For a hybrid event, all the more there's a need to plan accordingly, plan ahead, and create two different experiences for your guests. The people online will still want to have that engagement as well as the people who are attending your live event. So overall, we just want to create an impactful, engaging, and an event where your attendees and everyone viewing can leave with some value. The process to do this, we can start with our strategy. We talked a little bit about that just now, having a strategy and stepping stones to meet your goals, but we'll also make sure that your event is authentic and engaging despite being in a virtual space. The facilitation, again, however your program is created out, if there's multiple tracks, we're gonna make sure that it is dynamic and the program runs smoothly from beginning to end. Design and implementation, this one we want to make sure that you are using the right tools and platforms that will help you succeed. There's so many different options out there, and you want a agency or planner that can help you filter through all of that. So you're using the appropriate tools to make sure that you succeed. All right, so with the process, often we want to find that purpose and common goal between your 4 key players, and that could be the participant, speaker, sponsor, and the organization. One thing we found is when we can find the common goal between the 4 of these and fulfill that, you have 4 parties leaving very happy, and your event as a whole becomes successful. So we're here to help find that goal and fulfill those purposes.
Great, thank you, Jacqueline. Some more, so what to consider? Now that you decide, if you do decide to go virtual, here we broke it out to 4 sections so that it's easy for you guys to digest. Priority, what is your main focus and goal? And you guys will hear me talk about this a lot, because at the end of it, it always comes back to that. We could do an awesome event, but if it does not fulfill the goal, then we did not succeed. Is it beneficial to go virtual? Not all events make sense to go virtual. A lot actually does, like the one we shared a little bit earlier. So there's a lot that you could actually go virtual. And consider contingency plans. If something doesn't work out, maybe you plan to go live, but to have pre-recorded as a backup. So if one of the speaker all of a sudden got sick or their internet is not working, you could immediately play that backup video. What are some best action steps to achieve your purpose? These are all great things to kind of start you off with, you and your team, to think about before you jump right in to create the event. Planning, what is the guest journey? That's really important, because at the end of it, we're all doing this for the user, right? What's the end result? Like, if we make it really easy for them to navigate, they're more likely to engage. If we make it really fun, they're more likely to stay longer. And then content is key, right? So what is it that you want to put in there? Maybe if it's educational, make sure it's relevant, it's current, right? If I would not be tuning in to learn about live events right now. All I want to learn right now is, or hear about is virtual event, because that's what's relevant right now. Engagement will keep your viewers. So think of ways to engage them. Maybe you'll have some raffle in between the program. I was recently part of a webinar, and they actually did a $100 gift card for American Express at the end of the webinar. I didn't win, but I still stayed because I was like, oh, my chances are pretty high. There's only 50 people on this webinar, but it's just little ways to engage them. And I was actually part of this other virtual team building. And to be honest, I didn't think it was going to be super fun, but the 1 hour went by so fast, and I actually had a lot of fun. Surprise and delight your viewers. So, think of ways to do that. Even with live events, we do this, but with virtual, you can also do this. So perhaps sending them a package, like a meeting in a box before the event, right? So how nice for them to get some swags and whatnot before the event. So maybe they're all wearing the same t-shirt on the day of the event. That'll be really fun. And make sure for your planning to incorporate digital marketing strategies. Now that it's all virtual, you can leverage all the digital platform more. Prioritize your spending. A lot of people, ask us, oh, so now that, we don't have the venue, we don't have photographer, we don't have flowers, so our budget is like zero, so we kind of have to help them adjust that mindset because yes, we're seeing about 20 to 30% saving, but it's not a complete decrease. You still have to make sure you spend the money on good AV content, good production value, hopefully a good agency like us to help you get through this and make sure like your end product is really solid. And then staff, a lot of people think, oh, virtual, you just need one person, click and then go, right? It's actually a lot more people involved with that. Someone who's handling maybe one of the platform, someone's handling a fundraising function, maybe someone that's handling just the AV component, and then someone that's just in charge of the programming. If you have, social media integration, you better put someone on those so they could be immediately responding to questions that are coming up while maybe you're live streaming. People, right? So who is your target audience? If we were designing an experience for younger, maybe the millennials versus a baby boomer, it's going to be very different, right? The fonts would be bigger for one, make it easier to read, but just like maybe more graphics, like, what really interests them, right? Adding a recognizable face is also a really nice tip. So if you have celebrity or someone well-known, you could leverage or you could get engaged during this time. I actually heard recently another event, they actually got Bill Gates to speak for free, so I think more and more of these people are available because now instead of committing themselves to a 3-hour event, it's literally a maybe 30-minute recording or a 5-minute recording. So make it a lot harder to say no. Moderators, speakers, presenter, these are all super important people, but I think the most important one is actually the moderator. We work all behind the scenes, right? The moderator is kind of the front end person that helps tie all this together while the event is happening on the day of. So they will be reading the room, making sure, setting ground rules so that people know, and just engaging the audience while they're on, right? Like, hey, now let's do this, so it's like really fun. They need to be engaging. They should have a great delivery. That's super key in terms of a successful event. And then making sure there are a lot of speakers out there who are really good at delivering in person. But then delivering online is a little bit different. So making sure they practice that, or they haven't done so, maybe you could view some of their past videos to get a reference. Last but not least is a program, right? So we kind of mentioned previously, we condense usually a 5-hour event into a 1-hour event. And that 1 hour is perfect. It still engage everybody. We have 700 people that tune in for that event. Make sure you leverage all the free social media program that's out there, whether it's YouTube Live or Facebook Live, so that you can get more eyeballs on it and then amplify your reach. Last but not least, make sure your content is very critical and beneficial and relevant to the messaging you're trying to come across. So these are just some quick planning tips for you guys to take away. Make sure you create a plan, you promote before broadcasting, choose the right formatting, and then the timing, offer context, make sure you are thinking of ways to engage and respond to your audience, and then digital marketing as well as call to action. And now Jacqueline will share some of the virtual experiences.
Yes, so let's see what this actually looks like visually, starting with this virtual conference homepage. At the very top here, you have some navigation tabs that make it easy for your guests to get around, find the schedule, find people, and things like that. The registration button is seen in that yellow button right there underneath the title. That registration button should always be in the forefront. Really easy to find to get people to actually register. But what we've seen is at that graphic, we've been having some of our clients have like a carousel of photos or even like a video, a teaser, going through that just to make it a little bit more engaging for the viewers and the people who are clicking through. Next, we have a spot for your sponsors. It's always great to put your sponsors where they will be seen the most. And of course, the homepage is a great place for it, but we can also use data to let you know which places within your platform or within your website is going to be the best place to place these sponsors so that they can get the most recognition and viewers as possible. Ways to connect, we have these buttons for networking or to take a look at businesses or education. So having networking and ways to connect is going to be very useful for your attendees. Then we have a speaker coordination area over here where you can have your speakers either fill out their own pages and submit bios or information, or you can help them curate that information. But that's going to be useful for any attendees that are trying to look at any sessions ahead of time to see where these speakers are coming from, maybe their background, and maybe what their session is going to be about. So that will help your attendee plan for the day when they're looking at your event. Another thing that you should always include is social media integration. This is a great way to just get people involved, get them engaged, whether that is during the event or before the event. You can have them sharing about it with their friends and with their peers and other people as a form of networking or just engaging. Some more examples we have here. We can go into some virtual examples. Starting with the one on the left, this is what a virtual lobby can look like. So as you can see, this one is built out where the attendees are more like avatars and they can walk around, visit info booths, visit sessions, come into contact with other attendees and start up a chat. So it's as close to a live event using these avatars and built out virtual areas. But to the right, we have a virtual session in a theater style. So as you walk in, it's almost as if you're walking into a breakout, but guests can sit down, take a seat before the session starts, and once it begins, you'll see the content on the screen or somebody walk up on stage. So we're trying to kind of mirror a live event as much as possible. Other opportunities here, exhibit booths. For those of you who are trying to still showcase your company and your information, exhibit booths is probably one of the most customizable aspects right now. Each booth in your exhibit hall can be completely different and curated towards that one exhibitor. We can include videos. Amanda talked about being green, and now you can have your info sheets and data downloadable so that you don't even need to have a paper trail anymore for those who come by your booth. But attendees can click into it, watch videos, schedule chats with you or schedule calls with the exhibitor and interact that way. We've done fun things where attendees can win prizes if they visit enough booths. So there's tons of things we can do with exhibitors. Then we have webcasting here, which is what we explained earlier. Here we see some buttons below for engagements and some recording aspects as well. Moving to sponsor recognition, here are two types we've shown recently with one of our clients. To the left, we have a sponsor feed. So this one, we showed all the different tiers and sponsors in a feed from bottom to top, kind of like think Star Wars. And that's scrolling through your screen. A good time to present that would be before and after your event, sometimes even in the middle if you need an intermission. But a scrolling banner is a smaller version of that can be shown on the bottom. You can also use that not only for sponsors, but if you want to do gentle reminders or things like that, a text to donate, so that scrolling banner is very useful for those types of messages. Regarding speaker highlight, this is what that speaker page can look like. It can be completely customizable, but the way this one was set up is just some of the session info and then the speaker bios, and then even a short teaser or video of the content. so that viewers can look in prior to your session. To the right, we have a draft or a mock-up of a schedule so that you can see exactly when the sessions are going to start and what's happening throughout the day, and your attendees can plan out which ones they want to attend ahead of time. These are two different ways to have a break within your program or a transition even. To the left, you have a web banner. Sometimes if you're transitioning even through slides or from one session to another, this would be a great thing to throw up just so that you have your branding there. But to the right, just a simple screen break. You can put up messages of when you'll be returning or gentle reminders again. Using a screen break would be a great tool for that. All right, so best video practices. This is so key and so important to go through with all of your speakers. Always, always, always prep your speakers. Go through the talking points with them. Make sure they have content that's going to be relevant for your event. And schedule a call in advance. Schedule a Zoom meeting if you need to. But also communicate the time frame, because we're seeing that virtual events are much more condensed now. We need to make sure that your speakers are also aware of that and they stay within the time frame that is set up for them. Lighting. Lighting is always key to make sure your face is flawless. We recommend a diffused, even lighting so you don't have weird shadows on parts of your face. But we use at our agency and for our speakers, we use a ring lighting, or some people call it a beauty light, just to make sure that everyone is visible and the lighting is perfect. Sound, we also recommend using a special mic so that you are picked up clearly and you're not muffled, or your speakers don't need to shout in order for them to be heard. Background, we want to make sure that your background is clean and clear, no distractions, no surprise guests walking through. A simple, clean background is always the best. Angles, right now my camera angle is slightly above eye level so that it helps me to look up, and then also the viewers don't have a view of my nostrils or under the chin for the extra chins we've gained during quarantine. So having the angle slightly higher would be best so that your speaker looks up and then their eyes are slightly larger. And then I guess the biggest takeaway is minimize distractions from your environment. When we're going virtual, people are often at home. There's already so many things going on. So you, as the speaker or the person who's giving the content, we want to make sure that we eliminate all our distractions as well for your viewers. And then secondly, test, and test again. I can't tell you how many times that this is just so key and so valuable. Technical difficulties happen all the time, but it does take away from your event. So we suggest having a run through with your speakers and moderators, make sure that the flow is good, make sure everyone knows when they're speaking, and then test the virtual release of your platforms. Make sure that your Wi-Fi is not going to crash on you and that you're not going to have your speaker suddenly freeze and everyone doesn't know what to do. So make sure your Wi-Fi is strong enough. And a pro tip, we always say, if there is a portion of your event that is a essential and non-negotiable, for those sessions, always have a hardwired internet so that there aren't any issues.
That was awesome, Jacqueline. Now we're going to move on to sponsorship. So we get this question a lot. A lot of our clients, they have, sponsorship they need to think of. So, just like you would on a regular live event, make sure, one, you identify who your sponsors are, and then find out what it is that they need, especially during this time. They might have a different purpose, or what is their intent. And luckily a lot of these sponsors, they've been a long time supporter. So I don't, it's unlikely that they would just abandon you during this time. But I think it's very important that you kind of make sure you talk about the area impact. So if you have a new COVID initiative, if you have a new, maybe one of your fundraising component is you want to get more tech, speed up in tech because all your centers is now having to work remotely. So talk about the area impact, focus on that. And then recognizing your sponsor. So we have been assisting some of our clients pivoting their sponsorship packages so it fits the live virtual experience, and then making sure their sponsors continue to be recognized, whether it's through on the website, through live feed, or even through special mentions throughout the program. And then of course you had to get, we could get super creative with these. So normally the first two, digital ad or thought leadership opportunity, which is like presenting a sponsor or a speaker, those are pretty standard, right? But we could make this a little bit funner. So you could possibly sponsor a game or even a notification. You can have them on the registration page or high traffic page, as well as a short video. Maybe you're doing a teaser video because now that you pivot to virtual, so you want to let the audience know. So you could use this video and they could be part of that. Call to action on landing pages to this sponsors. This session is sponsored by, even breaks. I seen breaks. They'll say this is sponsored by, Bed Bath & Beyond. That was so nice. Or sponsored lunch and learns. So maybe if you have a really popular speaker and they could even do like private session with a very exclusive group. Host VIP pre and post event. Normally we do this live, but you could even do this virtually, making sure all the top sponsor, all the speakers have a chance to connect. It makes the program flow a lot better too, as well as surprise attendee with a pre-delivered home swag. I mean, this is so fun, right? Normally I just get junk mail, catalogs, or bills. I think anybody right now, if they get special packages, like my kids always get so excited when we get an Amazon package or any packages, actually. They're wondering if it's theirs. So that's always fun. You can send the meeting in a box. So prep kind of that expectation, build up that hype before they even come on board. Another one is if you guys have celebrities you can leverage, you could actually do a special like virtual meet and greet that you can set up. I think that would be very exclusive and that could even be a sponsorship opportunity. There's so many possibilities. You could get really creative with this. Data. So this is probably one of my favorites because it's matrix and data. So one of the great things about virtual events is that you can actually track essentially almost everything, right? So depending on the platform, and I would say that's probably one of the first thing you want to look at is it easy to use, and then what data can it help track? So with the right platform, you can actually track viewer retention, you could track page reviews, so you can actually see even like exhibitors, you can actually see which exhibitor they attended, right? And if you want to add gamification to it, you can actually, so on a recent one, we saw a platform that we're considering for a client, they actually built in little snowman throughout the program, the conference. So every time people see the snowman, but that just means that attended quite a few sessions and exhibitor, they actually get chances to win different prizes. And that was like, makes it a lot more interesting. I was like, where are the snowmans? I want to find them. Surveys, people are actually a lot more honest when it's digital because they don't have to tell you to your face. It's all just like on the back end. Right, and then in terms of revenue summary, that's really quick, as well as contact information, which can lead to, future lead generation. And then a lot of these, sometimes we just, numbers don't lie. So you can actually leverage this and use it to sell and promote future event as well, right? Because maybe you were thinking, wow, a lot of people visited this particular exhibitor booth, right? And then by going to check out, maybe they're doing something really successfully. That's why everybody's doing it. Because maybe they have really good content people could download, or is it maybe because they have so many virtual swags that people can take away, or maybe they just have a celebrity in the booth, a virtual celebrity, what is it? So you could use that to leverage. So that kind of wraps it up. And now we'll transition to Q&A. And here's some ways you guys could follow us. We're on Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, Twitter, lots of ways to engage with us.
All right, perfect. So we're going to get into some questions. So our first question comes from Yvette. She asks, would you suggest that the staffing team managing the virtual event be in one room, or can they all be remote?
So they can actually all be remote. We actually just finished a recent event and everybody's at their own home, but we did use a Slack function so that everybody can communicate instantly and as if we're all in the same room. But you don't have to necessarily be in the same room.
All right, perfect. And then we have another question. Is there a tool for virtual booth or exhibit that you've used before? How has that worked for you?
So it really depends. Usually if you're exhibiting, I think it's more asking the organization what platform they're using and making sure there's like all the different function, right? So for most of these platforms, you could actually upload documents that people could download. You can incorporate virtual swag. You can have your branding. You could do a lot of things within your booth.
Next question, have you hosted a virtual gala event?
Yes, we actually just finished one recently, and it was very successful, you know, and I think all the elements that we recommended to a client, it really worked out. It was only within a month, so we had to pivot really fast, but, you know, it turned out to be really well done, you know, but I think it's taking all the things we talked about today and putting that into practice, right? And then we really begin with the end in mind, thinking about what's the ultimate purpose, you know.
And for that one, I will say that something that really helped that organization is they really stuck to their mission and their core and their values, and getting that message across. A lot of their attendees did say they felt a sense of community because of that. They made that the forefront of the gala to make sure that their values as an organization stood true through everything and all the changes they were making. So that one turned out super successful.
All right, perfect. Angela asks, will IMG be the point person to assist speakers on tips to efficiently film their videos?
Yeah, for that one, it depends what kind of help or support they need. For the most part, we can definitely assist with that. We even have capabilities of sending equipment and some of the helpful tools that I talked about earlier in terms of the ring lighting or microphones. But yes, we can definitely help with that support and make sure that your content from your speaker comes out professionally.
Right. Next question, what platform worked the best for the gala? How did you handle the awards ceremony? In addition to mobile auction, can you integrate text to give for immediate online donations?
Jacqueline, you could take this one.
Yeah, sure. So for text to give, that's definitely something we just did as well. Using donation platforms, you can have it set up where even using the screen banners, I should start with that. Giving that number for people to text to give is a really easy way of getting your attendees involved. You can have your speaker support as well, verbally telling people to do so. But one thing we utilized the donation platform for was we were able to gather everyone's phone numbers from everyone viewing or attending and send out reminders or prompt people to text and to donate that way.
Perfect. All right, Michelle asks, what tips do you recommend for streaming pre-recorded content, but still stimulate a live virtual experience?
Can you repeat that one more time, Danica?
Yes. What tips do you recommend for streaming pre-recorded content, but still stimulate a live virtual experience?
I mean, the program flow, right? I think it goes back to the program flow. That's super important. We recently just finished another event, and because we switched the programming, all the elements around it just flow a lot better. So really think about the end user's experience. Work it that way. And any live component that you incorporate, if it's fundraising or maybe, you know, your CEO wants to speak live, make sure that's at I always say the most important things should always be in the beginning, right? Because people start to lose their attention towards the end. So that's one tip that we could share with you guys.
And Amanda talked about earlier about content, making sure that that is in the forefront, making sure that your content is good, letting people know the context and what to look forward to. That will keep your guests engaged. And I would say now we have the opportunity of engaging with your guests not only virtually but physically. You can send things ahead of time so that they have something in their hands to engage with and play with during your program. You can refer to the things that you have sent to them. So not only can you give messages on the screen, but your attendees can also have something with them at their homes or wherever they're viewing in from. And so there's two different ways that you can incorporate engagement with your attendees.
Awesome. All right, another question. How long is the planning process for a virtual event compared to an in-person event? How far in advance should a client reach out to IMG to help coordinate a virtual event?
More time the better, please. So when we pivoted within the month, that wasn't by choice. It was because of need, and we want to be there for our client. But typically, I would say at least, if you already have all your sponsors and speakers secure, then it's not, I think 2 months is pretty good. But for those of you, some people are coming to us, they don't even have sponsor yet, they don't have speaker yet, then longer time. But people nowadays, everything is like fast because it's more accessible. So it doesn't take as much time as it used to, right? Because we still have vendors we need to coordinate with, but it's less. There's still a lot of intricacies with it, right? So essentially we don't have to look for venues, but to us, platform is now a venue, right? Because we're bring everybody onto this platform to have a cohesive experience.
All right, next question. Does IMG build a custom website to host the event, or are you using an existing virtual platform?
It depends on the event, right? So a certain event, we are using website, but usually that's like the starting point. For a lot of it, we're actually leveraging platforms, an existing platform. We don't recommend client to start from scratch unless it is a year-round event. So for someone like Facebook, where they're doing tons of events, and just for different departments, and yes, maybe you build in something custom. But even then, there's so many platforms out there. Again, virtual events are new. It's just new to a lot of people right now because of COVID-19. But virtual event actually has been around for a while, and there's over 100 softwares and platforms out there, probably too many for all of us to dive into. Yeah.
Okay, a few more questions. How to drive virtual event value for your sponsors?
We'll let Jacqueline take this one.
Well, Amanda mentioned a lot of really fun ideas earlier to make sure that your sponsors get the spotlight, but really I think the main focus is you want to talk to your sponsors and see what is their interest and what are their values, and work along that way. So once you have that in mind, then you can incorporate ways not only through ads or banners or logos, but you can have them sponsor different things or show up in different ways of recognition. Another way we can go about it is looking at the metrics that Amanda mentioned again. So we can let them know how many people, viewed this site and saw their ad, or how many people clicked into the video that they presented or watched the video in full. So now that we're going virtual, a lot of this data can be measured and can be tangible, and we can actually offer your sponsors some numbers.
Yeah, so to give you guys an example, recently we have one client, so they're doing a morning stretch or morning kickoff for their event. And then they told us, we have an insurance sponsor, so how can we incorporate them, right? And we say, wait, but you have the morning kickoff. So insurance is all about security or like protecting you. So how about they do like the wealth, and they sponsor the wealth, like the morning stretch, right? And they're like, we love that. We're going to pitch it to her. I think that was like very well received. So try to think outside the box what you can do, like beyond just like, this is sponsored by. Right? Because there's so many ways you could do this, like I want to be the swag bag sponsor because I think the surprise and delight is always one of my favorites.
All right, perfect. Next question. How can you calculate ROI from attendee participation and possible booth purchases?
That's a great question. I would say you definitely need to, depending on what show you're trying to participate in, ask them like how many people, just the usual question, like how many people will be attending, stuff like that, but even what platform, right? So depending on the platform that organizer uses, you can actually upload documents, you could upload different engagements. Some you can have video, you can really make the booth experience reflect your brand, right? But then if their virtual platform is not as intuitive, then those are limited, you know. So, but if they pick a really good platform, like we've been seeing a lot, like I literally walk in and it looks like a regular trade show, regular booth. It probably looks even better because now we don't have to set up. But yeah, I would ask those questions. And then you could get data, right? Because now they're able to track like who comes. So you could get immediate, back in the days with physical booth, they will scan your badges to get your information. Now you don't have to scan anybody. So if, you know, Amanda from IMG comes visit your booth, when I go see the page on digitally, it will track that. So you can see, oh, Amanda from IMG stopped by my booth and she looked at the video, she downloaded my paper. You know, you can ask for all these information up front. Yeah.
All right, perfect. And this is our last question. What are your favorite virtual activations?
Jacqueline, I think Jacqueline's dying to answer this.
So we have a lot, but I guess our favorite one right now is a virtual DJ activation where you can have your guests not only hear from a famous DJ that's playing throughout your program, but you can also give them the opportunity to go in and create some beats and tunes for themselves. So we found that that was very interesting because it's something that they can record and take away. It doesn't need to have any real setup. It just needs to be on your platform. So we thought that would be super fun and engaging for your guests. And depending on what your event is, there's tons of ways to engage, like we mentioned before, whether that is sending something ahead of time physically or something on the screen virtually.
And since we're talking about music, one pro tip that we want to leave you guys with is making sure when you music, the copyright, because now, you know, a lot of these are live, they're no longer quote unquote private, right? You're not viewing this in a room. So you really need to be careful because they will shut you down right away. So you can make sure you're looking for royalty-free music, but be careful which site you go to. One of the really good one is Soundstripe. So you guys could check that out, but just be careful because there's trolls out there. They're saying, oh, a lot of people are downloading, you know, this free music, so they will go get copyright for it. But Soundstripe is one that we're seeing that's really good right now that you guys can use. Yeah. Great. Well, thank you guys all so much for joining us today. I think it's amazing talking to you guys about virtual events, and we're here for you guys. If you guys have more questions, feel free to either reach out to myself, Danica, or Jacqueline, or anyone else at the agency. Our contact information is here, and we love to leave you off with, you know, stay strong, and we'll all come through this together. Thank you so much.
Thank you, everyone. Stay safe.
Thank you.